Welcome to the Franky Ro Show. I am your host, Rochelle. Now, our next guest has a magnificent story of how he was able to break the cycle of struggle by fighting his way through bullying, sickness, abuse, torture, addiction, and affliction. He began writing books about his life story to help and inspire others, and today he has become an 8 times best-selling author with such books as In My Eyes, I Love, and Better Days. This young man has been very busy, but he has stopped by the Franky Ro Show to talk about books and more. Steve White, welcome to the show. How are you?
I am well. Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor. I really appreciate you, reaching out and taking the time out.
Now, Steve, not only are you an author, but you are in music as well. Talk to us about how music and writing goes together.
Well, that's quite an interesting question. I started doing music before I even picked up a pen to write a book, and it was really the foundation of me really expressing how I feel. I felt a great energy when I write music as I produce, and I get, really in tune with the instruments. And I used to make songs about, love songs and the typical things that, young guys do. But as I grew, I realized that I can actually touch people with the music, and it doesn't have to be a career. So my vision from being an artist turned into more like a hobby, but that can entertain and educate people at the same time.
Now, in your autobiography, it states that you broke the cycle of struggle, which so many people still struggle with today in 2013. How did you make the decision to break the struggle and become a story of success?
Well, I believe that everything starts with a choice. Unfortunately, we're not always in a position where we know that we have a choice. But I was practically faced with death. I was faced with affliction after affliction, and I got to the end of my tether. I knew that, it was a death or life, and my choice to live meant that I had to take certain actions and start walking in a certain direction to have that life.
How did you first discover that you had the gift of writing and singing?
Well, singing is something that I'd always been doing. I grew up in the church. I went to youth centres over here in the UK. We had when I was a teenager, lots of youth centres and summer shows and showcases. Over time, that kind of disappeared, but the gift still followed. As far as writing, really, I used to just go online in the middle of my affliction and post little quotes on Facebook, on MySpace, and I just, unlike a lot of people, I kept everything that I posted on a Word document and just found a way of compiling it into a book.
Steve, many African American men in the United States have faced many trials, especially when attempting to do something positive in life. With you being of the African descent, born and raised in England, are the trials the same?
That's such an excellent question. I was recently having a discussion about this regarding the recent trial. Yes, I have gone and I face it every single day. But I heard a very interesting conversation online, and the man said we have to learn to adapt to the environment that we're in. So it's not fair that we're stereotyped, but we must use knowledge. It's not fair that we don't have a level playing field, but we must be wise with our decisions. So for me, I didn't play up to the stereotypes. I didn't try and wear hoodies so I can prove a point. I didn't try to keep long braids so that I can prove a point. I adapted, and I understood that those things don't define me. The same struggles were there, but I just was a bit more wise of getting around them.
Let's talk about your book and music project, Steve. Now, the first book I want to discuss is entitled In My Eyes. What is this book about?
Yes, most people, especially in my field of work, they start their brand or ministry with a story. I had written 7 books, and without speaking about myself. Everything that I posted or achieved was achieved without anybody knowing anything about me. But one day I knew there would be a time where I'd have to share my story. How do you know all the things you know? So it was a long process. It took me many years to just really dissect my own life. but it was really time to show people the fruit, why I can say what I say, some of the struggles I've been through, some of the things I'm still going through today. But what really qualifies me to be able to speak the way I do, in my eyes, is just a reflection of my world, how I've seen it, how I've felt it, and it is really an insight into the fabric of my life.
Now, coming really soon, you have 3 new books that are in the works, one of which is entitled A Woman's Worth. Talk to us about that book.
Well, yes, that is going to be book number 9. I'm doing 10 altogether, and each one is for a particular market. Now, I really identify within my coaching. I've coached many women, and whenever I speak about why you're not doing something, the first thing they talk about is a man. And I just found it really interesting that even if I post something online and I say, women, you need to be more confident, or they then bring in a man. And I just thought, women are never going to advance if we always defer responsibility. So I thought, I need to write from a man's perspective, some things that can help women and young girls, but eliminate the man from this equation. Let's just focus on what you can do to be better, not what stopped you in the past or what's stopping you now, but really speak to these young girls so when they grow, they know that it's not about independence, it's about interdependence. So how can we work with men? How can I, better my qualities, working with and not making them the enemy?
Now, Steve, you are a very busy man. Not only are you an author, but you sing as well. What inspired you to sing?
For a long time, I wanted to be an artist. This is way before I was an author or a life coach. I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to be the next Usher or the next Diddy or whoever it was. I wanted to be the best at what I did. But really, the inspiration comes from creativity. I like to create things that no one else can create. There's something about that makes me feel like my life is so significant. I have added something to this planet that didn't exist 5 minutes ago, and now here it is. So that really inspires me. But as far as, time, I make sure that my life is balanced. I understand that I am the CEO of my life. So if my life is too cluttered, that's because I have overcommitted to things. There's no one else to blame, so I make sure that I find time to do my hobby, which is music. I find time to write, which is my purpose, and I find time to spend time with my family and God, which is my domain, where I live and where I reside.
Steve, we always like to end the Franky Ro Show with an encouraging word from our guests. If there is anyone watching tonight who may be on the verge of giving up and losing hope, what would your encouraging words be tonight?
I would say turn everything off. I believe that you could be in a negative place right now, and the noise around you is not helping you to find any clarity. Turn everything off. It seems so simple, but when you tell somebody to turn off their mobile phone, it's like you're taking their whole world away. But sometimes that's what's needed, because we're so engrossed in everything else and what everyone else is doing that we don't know where we are. Turn everything off. Spend time studying the Word of God. Spend time praying. Spend time really putting God first. Not just giving Him the last bit of your day, but make sure that He is the foundation of your day. Make sure that everything that you do is founded upon that. And if you're not a Christian and you don't have any kind of faith or religion, my advice to you would be still turn everything off. Spend time with yourself. Put first things first. Prioritize your priorities and fix your mind. Remember that victory is a mindset long before it's a result.
Last but not least, what can your fans and supporters expect to see from you for the remainder of 2013 on into 2014?
Well, it's really crazy. After I did In My Eyes, I said that was my last book. God showed me, this is your last book. When I had released it, I was in Australia. When I got back, I was like, what do I do? I'm normally so busy. What do I do now? And I heard his voice clearly say to me, finish everything that you have started and left unfinished. So I was just like, if anyone who knows me knows my desktop is just unbelievably so many things unfinished. So the first thing I did was the album, Seasons. I finished that, put it out for free. But now these books, my next book is called Winning. I have some great features in it. It's coming this year. And then you will see A Woman's Worth and A Father's Love. And then hopefully I'll be doing my US tour soon.
If anyone wants to know more about you, your books, and music, what are some social media sites they can go to?
Well, I always direct people directly to my website, which is iamstevewhite.com. That's WHYTE. A lot of people mess that up. iamstevewhite.com. And from there, you can connect to my Twitter, which is I am Steve White. My Facebook's I am Steve White. My YouTube's I am Steve White. I'm pretty easy to find. And if you like Google, just Google me.
Now, before we go, can you please give a shout out to everyone watching in Fresno, watching the Franky Ro Show?
A big shout out to everyone in the United States that's watching. Keep supporting this show. There's not many positive things on TV. I commend this show, I endorse this show, and I just pray that it grows and fruit grows from it and it makes more room and more room for others to come up underneath. Keep supporting this show, and I wish you all better days.
That was book author and musician Steve White right here on the Franky Ro Show. Remember to check him out on his website. And if you've missed this episode, you can catch it re-airing Monday, Wednesday, and Friday night at 9 p.m. on Comcast Channel 93 and AT&T Channel 99. This is the Franky Ro Show. We have more to come, so we ask you to stick around.